Ginger Annis, and I'm the Alexander County Veteran Service Officer, and I'm joined today by Billy Presnell, who is a veteran of the Vietnam conflict, or Vietnam War. Mr. Presnell, would you like to start by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you were born, where you grew up?
Well, I lived in Alexander County all my life. I was born in Wilkes County, and I mean, Alexander County couldn't be a better place to live.
I agree. When you joined, what branch of service were you in?
I was in the U.S. Army. I was drafted.
Okay. Prior to your service, what was your occupation?
I worked at Snyder Mills.
Okay. Were you married before you joined?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And how many years of service did you have?
Okay, I spent 2 years in the regular Army, 13-month tour in Vietnam. And when I got home, I had a hard time adjusting. There was no excitement. So I went to the 108th Army Reserve Unit for a year, and there wasn't nothing going on there. So I was, being a Vietnam veteran, I was able to transfer to the National Guard in States for the 120th Infantry. And there they made me a medic, and I got, a lot of good training. And it was hard to adjust with no excitement. I mean, Alexander County is, not the most exciting place in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
So I joined the Guard, and I spent 6 years in there. They promoted me to sergeant. I was a Spec 4, and I mean, I have no regrets. I'm proud of my service.
Very good. And where did you take your basic training?
Part of it was at Fort Jackson, which we call Poncho Land, if you know what I'm talking about. And then they transferred, there's so many of us, and they're rushing us through.
Right.
They sent us to Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Okay. So besides South Carolina and Georgia, where else were you stationed?
Okay, they sent me they asked me, when you take that test, they said, do you know anything about electricity? I said, very little. He said, you scored high on the test. So they sent me to Fort Belvoir, Virginia to take a engineer and work on generators and repair generators. And I mean, I can't tell you why they sent me there, and I can't tell you why I passed that test, but that was the result.
So did you continue doing that after the...
No, ma'am. We all knew we was going to Vietnam. So they sent me to the 90th replacement in Saigon. That's just like an employment place where each unit notifies if they need help, if somebody gets killed or something, they need a replacement. So they sent me to a signal unit right beside the 5th Australian Task Force, which I spent a lot of time with that unit. And I went on convoys and just a utility person. Whatever they needed, our signal unit had a unit set up out there with the Australians, and I had to go out in there a lot, maybe deliver mail or just all kind of stuff to keep me busy. And
did you make any friends in service, and have you stayed in touch with them?
No, my best friends was Australians, and you had to meet them people to enjoy them. They was big, they drunk like fish, but I remember a mortar round hit the mailroom, and they cried like babies. I mean,
mercy.
They were some real characters. They bloody this and bloody that, and mate, and some of the talk that they put out, I still remember it.
You wish you could have probably recorded it so you could hear it again.
Oh, I mean, they were something. They were big, not like the British, but they were big people. And they might be low on ammunition and supplies, but Her Majesty's beer, that's the name of it. It was shipped over there in big crates.
Well.
And boy, did they drink.
So how did that affect them when they had to go out and fight?
Well, now, I lost a couple good buddies. They got all tanked up, and they had to go out on a recon mission. One of them stepped on a mine, what you call a bouncing Betty.
Right.
And a sniper got the other one because they was just out of it. They had no business, you know, even going out.
Right, right.
That alcohol, it'll work on you, even though they say it's watered down, but you drink enough of it and it'll still have an effect on you.
Right. What about superior officers? Do you remember any, and if so, why?
Well, we had some, but we didn't care a whole lot for them unless they had, you know, maybe World War II or something. They'd send them second lieutenants over there, and they wanted to run everything by the book.
Mm-hmm.
And they, you know, if you saluted one and they happened to be a sniper around, that sniper, that's one he went after.
Right, right.
And
can you relate any skirmishes or battles that you were involved in?
well, I wasn't in a whole lot of action, but when I first got to the 90th replacement, they put you on guard duty,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the night shift. They said, oh, they ain't nothing to worry about. About 2 o'clock in the morning, flares started going up everywhere, and I heard the M60s down the line going off. And I was so scared I ducked my head down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't be no John Wayne or nothing right then. And the next morning, I happened to look at they said that, you know, there's nothing to worry about.
Right.
And those sandbags was just covered with bullet holes where they shot. And I've had some pretty good issues on some convoys several times.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of mortar attacks. And
Right. Do you want to tell us about your convoy experiences?
well, I was crazy. I'd volunteer.
Never
And-
do that.
And we won this one time, and it's about 3 trucks and a Jeep and a 3-quarter. I was in the 3-quarter with another feller. And somehow he made the wrong turn, and we went out this little old road, and all well, we called them goots,
Mm-hmm.
but the people over there, they was all laying in the ditch, laying down. And you could smell if you've ever been in any combat, you can smell it. You can smell the artillery rounds and
Mm-hmm.
the powder, and I'd be doggone if they didn't start firing on us. And I got so doggone scared, I was in the back of the 3-quarter,
Mm-hmm.
and when I went down to get in the truck, I hit my chin on the barrel of the gun. That's about the only real wound I got over there.
Mm-hmm.
That was legal.
Right.
When they had these tailors in these little old villages,
Mm-hmm.
and right before I had about a week left, I was clearing. So I went down there to get them to make me a couple camouflage outfits, this place was off limit. They called it the turkey farm.
Mm-hmm.
So I snuck down there, and I remember this just like it. I have dreams about this. We was out on the street, me and this other fella, and this little boy come by on a bicycle and tossed a grenade. And a piece of a fragment went into my leg over here, and I happen to know a real good medic friend of mine in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and he got it out. If I had turned that in, I would have got the Purple Heart and all that stuff, but I would also got a court-martial probably for being in that area.
Right.
And it was time for me to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So we just, you know, forgot about that. And I was scared. That handled the situation, me as scared as I was.
Right. Right.
Those kids over there, you felt sorry for them. You probably you served in Iraq, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You seen how them little kids want a candy bar or chewing gum or something, but they'd also turn right around and they would stab you in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's pitiful.
Mm-hmm. What weapons were you assigned to?
I had a .45 pistol,
Mm-hmm.
but when I went on the convoy, I always got the grenade launcher, the M79. I got me a vest, and I got everything I could take.
Right. Right. What poor conditions or hardships did you face?
Well, when I went over there, I had never been no farther than Hickory or Statesville.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was a long way from home.
It's a culture shock too,
Yeah,
probably.
And you hear stories about how lonesome it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's really bad on holidays.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you know from day to day that it might be your last day, and you get over it. I mean, you got to, 'cause it'll eat away at you until there's nothing left.
Right. What about your living conditions? Did you have to live in a tent, or did you have a bed?
We had these great old big. We built frames and then we put the canvas over them.
Mhm.
And they paid us. Back then they called it COLA. If you didn't have a mess hall,
Mhm.
they give you extra money a month.
Mhm.
And then you got your combat pay and your hazardous duty pay and all that stuff. And
Right.
once in a while we'd get a Thanksgiving or some special occasion. They'd bring some stuff in by chopper that was hot.
Mhm.
But you got used to that stuff. I mean, I still like Spam.
Do you?
A lot of people don't, but I eat it all the time.
Okay.
And we used to argue over who was going to get the dessert in them sea rations.
Uh-huh. So what kind of desserts did they have?
Well, they had that fruit cake. You didn't want that. And as long as you didn't look at the date on them sea rations, it was okay. Because some of them went back to the Korean War.
So they'd been around a while.
Oh, yeah. Back then, I think they called them, what, K rations?
No, I think they were sea rations.
But they were sea rations in
Right,
Vietnam. But
right.
we sure had plenty of them. And
Right.
you could take that old steel pot, and you
Mhm.
could use that for everything. Wash
Right.
your face in, shave in, or put boiling water in it, heat your stuff.
Mhm.
And everybody you'd get a big old pot, your steel pot full of that, and everybody chip and throw their stuff in there, and it wasn't near as bad like that.
Okay. How did you handle being so far away from your home and family?
Well, your family expects you to write. They want you to write every night or every day, but you just can't do that.
Right.
And it took, I believe it was around 5 days for the letter to get from over there to San Francisco, and then it went. But my mother sent me a little recorder,
Mhm.
and then she had a recorder, and we'd send them little reel tapes,
Right.
and that helped.
Mhm. So you could hear her voice.
Yes.
That's probably very, very relaxing.
And you had the Armed Forces radio.
Mhm.
Back then it was mostly country music. It ain't this garbage you listen to today they call country music. I mean, that is pitiful.
Right.
I mean, you had Buck Owens and George Jones, something, and they'd play the saddest song, and it didn't help because it
You was already sad from
Yeah.
being over there, weren't you?
seemed like that Armed Forces radio would play and they had this Vietnamese lady over there, Min Ya or something other, and she spoke as good as English and she had a radio program, played the old rock and roll kind,
Right.
and that helped a whole lot.
Right. Did faith play a part in helping you cope with your time in the war?
Oh yeah, they was some dark days that I didn't know whether I was going to see the next morning. In fact, I thought the world was ending. If anybody's ever told you about those B-52s, we woke up one morning about 5 o'clock, and that smell was in the air, like I was telling you about the powder and
Right.
and the whole sky was just red, and it was just, the ground was just rumbling. About 5 miles from where we was at, they was bombing.
Oh, okay.
And we thought the world was over. I mean, that's an experience that I don't think anybody could ever forget.
Right, right. What did you do for fun or during your leave when you were in the service?
You mean, and there wasn't a whole lot to do it. You could do in Vietnam. They had movies they'd send over there. In fact, I think someone told me that the troops over there got to see the movies before the people in the United States, first. But other than that, they wasn't. I never went on no R&R. You could have went to Australia or somewhere like that, but those Australians being around as much as I was, it's just like being with them anyway. So
Right.
why go to Australia?
There you go.
Hey, those people, something else.
Did you receive any awards or medals or commendations for your time?
Just a good conduct award. And
Well, that's good.
Well, yeah. And I thought I'd got Article 15 one time, but I didn't get it.
Well, that's good too. Do you have any photos or pieces of your uniform or mementos that you kept?
My mother's house burnt down years ago, and she had a lot of that stuff. And I got a few pictures at the house. Other than that, I got it in my mind. I mean, my wife would tell you that I'll wake up some nights a screaming and a hollering, and sometimes it's just like it's so real. And other than that, I sent a bunch of pictures home, but they mortared the airfield where we was at. You know, the bunch of choppers was messed up and everything, and you know them film never got home. I think they censored the mail.
Right.
Because they never did make it home.
Right. What's been your occupation since leaving the service?
I got into. I went back to Snyder's when I first come back, and I said one day, this is not for me. I want to work somewhere where I can use a hammer. So I went to Broyhills, and they learned me to build frames. And that's what I done until this Agent Orange took over and just put me out of everything.
Right, right. Were any of your family members or ancestors in the service?
My daddy was in World War II in the Battle of the Bulge, and what's that? Yeah, D-Day. He was in that. He drove a truck, and that. In fact, that's what he was doing when he died. He was a truck driver.
Oh, okay. Do you have any brothers or sisters living in the area, or?
I got my one sister. She's a year younger than me. She died 2 years ago. She had a brain tumor. And I got one more sister that lives in Conover.
Okay.
I don't have any brothers.
What about wife and children or grandchildren?
Oh gosh, I got a wonderful wife, and I got 3 of the most exciting grandkids you ever seen. I got one's a softball star, one's a fisherman, and the other's just trying to make out what he wants to be.
Well, that's all right. Sometimes it takes a while to decide.
I fished all my life, and I've taught him, I think, really good. He's going to be a good fisherman.
Well, good. Are you active in any of the local veterans organizations?
No, I should be, I guess, but I can't do a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, I know it's a good thing that they do, like the ones that's down there below where I live, the disabled veterans. They put on good breakfast. Of course, I don't need many of them.
Right. What would you have to say to youth today if they were interested in the armed forces?
Well, I think it's a good thing to be in. But right now, I mean, this is not a political statement. I agree with what Ronald Reagan said. Strength, peace, the strength. And the way they've cut stuff now, I think the defense should be one of the number one priorities, because these Arab countries is going to run all over us if something ain't done. But I think it's a good thing for a kid to be in the service. I got a granddaughter that's in ROTC, and now she says she's going in the Marine Corps. Humming the Marine Corps hymn the other day.
Well, good for her. Do you have any other advice for anybody or anything else you'd like to say?
Just, war is an awful thing. Nobody really wants it. But, I mean, you got to have it. But it's not like when you see John Wayne and Audie Murphy. I mean, Audie Murphy was a decorated hero in World War II. But Hollywood messed him up good. But it's not like that. It's loneliness, it's sadness, and you never get over it. Just like this Agent Orange that I've got. I don't want to be heavy like this, but it's just I take so many pills a day, about 21 pills a day, and it takes. From you're the veterans lady. You know how long it takes for a claim to go through. And it's a good thing, once everything gets going. I mean, they'll take care of you.
Right.
But I would recommend, I'd hate to see my granddaughter in combat, but she's wanting to go to college and all that stuff, and you can't beat that.
Right.
Unless they start cutting again.
Right.
But I don't regret 1 minute of being drafted. But like I say, there's a lot of excitement. I found that out. I figured I better get in the Guard or something. Well, we did get in some good rights when I was in the National Guard back then. But there's nothing wrong with the military.
Well, I agree. Well, Mr. Presnell, I want to thank you for your service and thank you for talking with us today.
Well, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you no more war stories than that.
Well, that's fine.
But what little bit of action I did see was enough for me.
Exactly.
It is not like the John Wayne movie.
Right. It's not like TV.
That's right. You've probably seen more. I mean, I've seen a lot of the wounded and all that stuff, and I've seen the choppers. I did have to work some at the 36th Vac Hospital once in a while, and I've seen all that stuff. I know it's real.
Right.